welcome back to the Nugs podcast with another episode. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're going to dive right into it. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening in the NBA world right now. The draft just happened, which was, I think, super good for the NBA in general. I'm sure Lorenzo can agree. I mean, last year, going back to Zachary Ricochet, and who no one really talked about, now you got Cooper Flagg, the most hyped up number one pick since maybe LeBron James. So we're looking good as far as the NBA side. The free agency has also been super good, but as far as the Nuggets, they're playing their cards super close to their chest. You know, no one really knows what the Nuggets are cooking, but based off of their track record, I think you have reason to believe that they are cooking something up, whether it's in free agency, whether they're signing, whether they're going to re-sign. You know, it's just interesting to see how they're going to play these next couple of months.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Chuck. I mean, I just wanted to ask from the rip. I mean, definitely was something that we noticed during the draft, them being one of the only teams to not have any decisions to really make on draft night. I mean, maybe there was a potential trade or two they could have made, but decided to keep really quiet, didn't stir the pot nearly at all, wasn't any prospects that they looked at too closely because, frankly, they just didn't have a pick on the table. Wanted to ask you, I mean, a big part of the fact that they don't have a first pick is due to a lot of the trades and moves that they'd made in the past, like namely Aaron Gordon. Do you think the trades and the moves that they had made up to this point justified them not participating in this? And that was a well point you made, a very competitive draft class.
Yeah, I think that going back to a lot of these moves, I mean, this draft class was deep. It was really deep. You got guys like, I mean, you can go as deep as the whole lottery was stacked. And I think when they traded away some of those picks, they could have never guessed that the 2025 draft class was going to be this loaded. Yeah. But the whole point of the NBA and the trades you do and the moves you make is to win a championship, and that's exactly what they did. So I think they would do everything they've done up to this point over again and double it 100%, because the fact that they came up, you know, they were hyped up, they were super good, they got the job done, and they're still a competitive basketball team with moves that they can make. It's going to be super interesting. They haven't made a lot of dumb moves. They've got guys that they might need to ship away, but they also have guys that are talented and that can bring the championship back to Denver. And the fans have reason to believe that too. I mean, they took OKC, who blew a lot of teams out of the water. Really, the Pacers gave them a good fight, but everyone knew that they took them to 7, and a lot of people were thinking the Nuggets were going to win that game too. So.
Yeah. Took the Thunder to 7, very competitive series. Okay, I've got 2 questions for you. I think they're both very, very interesting. First one has to do with the draft. We look at all of these players that have now joined new teams, lots of narratives about them, but more than anything, I think what's very interesting to us as students of the game, people who like to dissect kind of the different players, the value that they bring to the table of those drafted in the lottery. And I think this also contributes to a broader discussion of kind of the needs of the Denver Nuggets organization as a playing product, right? As what you see on the floor. Who in the lottery would, of those 14 players, I mean, besides maybe Cooper Flagg because he's the most obvious, but who of these players would create the most immediate impact for the franchise and for the playing product that we're witnessing as fans of the team?
Yeah, that's a great question. You think of guys that I think all these guys are so different. You think of just the top 6 guys. I mean, Trey Johnson's an insane shooter, and I think the Nuggets, they have great shooting. I mean, they have okay shooting with MPJ, but Jamal Murray's a spotty shooter.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon is not a reliable shooter. So I think, that's why they were so good, because they had guys like KCP, who was just a dead-eye shooter, who you just need good shooters. And Trey Johnson was a guy who, he shot at an insane clip. He's going to do that for the Wizards. So I think thinking back, I think the Nuggets need to incorporate shooting. I don't know if you know anyone in the free agent market that the Nuggets you see getting their eyes on with that need, or what you think the Nuggets need in the realm of their offense, because their defense is fine, but their offense might struggle a little bit this year.
Yeah, people like Malik Beasley, just super important. And I agree as far as the rookies go, Trey Johnson has an absolute strap to him. And I think just the broader point is just getting a budget offensive engine. We've been talking about this lately. thinking of a guy like Peyton Pritchard, who does what he does on the offensive side of the court, but only costs $8 million annually. And so if you could have gotten a rookie like Dylan Harper, who as a second round pick would be projected to make something around 8 million, and think of the offensive engine that he is and what he will be 2 or 3 years from now. I think you think of how expensive Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, who is the greatest offensive engine in the game right now, and MPJ, and like finding another guy who isn't going to break the bank, but like the Nikola Jokic minutes were horrible. And it's why David Adelman turned into the second coming of Tom Thibodeau this past postseason, because there's not enough offensive option for them to go to. And it's
true.
pathetic. And so that's why, like, I just wanted that to be clear to anybody who listens to this for the Denver Nuggets. They need more offense, and they need to find a way to do it economically, because you don't get on a player like Jokic and what he brings to the table.
Because thinking about it, I mean, that Julian Strother game, people were going crazy when really it was just your seventh guy giving you 12 points. Like, at the end of the day, that's really not that crazy.
It wasn't
but
that crazy.
It was so unexpected. Like, people thought it was in the Julian Strother game. Like, no, he was just doing his job, coming off the bench and scoring. Like, he's great. He's young. He's got potential. But they need to go out and get guys like Naz Reid, who just is a bucket, who just signed with, the Timberwolves. But guys like Malik Monk, who can just score. Jordan Clarkson in his prime. I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a guy that they could go for. Chris Boucher, I think, is a name that could come up for the Nuggets free agent. He's long, lanky. He shoots the ball at a good clip. Ty Jerome, I know they've had him in their minds for a while. Good backup point guard. They need that too. So there's guys that are definitely able, and Ty Jerome's a scorer. I mean, he averaged a solid amount of points. He was in Sixth Man of the Year. If they can go out and get Ty Jerome, offer him a good amount of money, which he deserves, he could average 18, 19 off the bench, and that could lessen the load for Jokic. It wouldn't put so much pressure on Murray to be the regular season Murray that everyone says, oh, he's not that good, and then playoffs turn up, and obviously he turns up. But if you can lighten the load on them for a couple more games, give them a couple more minutes on the bench, that's going to result in Game 7s of the finals, or Game 7s of the West or semifinals, like games like that they need to be the guys on the court, so they can obviously have a better product. So that's my thought on that.
No, completely agree. I mean, Nas picked up. Looks like Jonathan Kuminga is going to be brought back to Golden State, which is low-key surprising. And Malik Beasley, the allegations. I think Dennis
I don't think he'll play. I don't think he'll play again.
Yeah, who knows, bro? I mean, I watch just as a tangent, I watch a very interesting video on Twitter where it's just like the line was 8.5 T-Wolves. And did you see the layup?
Yeah, that was crazy.
I invite anybody who's listening to this, just go and look at that clip and then ask yourself, are these allegations against Malik Beasley? Maybe do they hold merit?
Like he was on the Nugs for a while there, so
yeah. You might see Malik Beasley in a different light. But okay, the other question I wanted to ask you, so you look at who the Nuggets are already paying, look at their cap table. Not talking about a new rookie or a free agent like we've already discussed, but who needs to take that next step? And when we're looking at the Nuggets being a really good team next year, which players really need to step up for the franchise to be a lot better than what they are now?
Well, I want to hear what you say about this, but I would say, I mean, it's no doubt the bench, but I would say that Christian Braun has made very good steps in. I think he can go to another level. I think he can. I think he knows what he's capable of. This last year, he showed what he was capable of, and if he can keep going and keep those points getting up there, he's good on defense. He guards the best player on the other team, and then Peyton Watson has a perfect NBA body. I mean, if he can put on a little bit more muscle, he's big, he's athletic, but they need a bigger step from. They need a backup center for one. And they just need more scoring from the bench. So I'd say Peyton Watson, Julian Strother, and then, I mean, it's crazy that guys like Hunter Tyson come to my mind, which is crazy that we're talking about Hunter Tyson and saying maybe he can make a leap. Like that shouldn't be how it is. So they need a deeper bench. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you say about that, though.
Yeah, I mean, we saw glimpses of Julian Strother and incredible score, like clean 10 points per game. But there's such a difference between guys who can come off the bench and give you 10 to 12 versus guys that take that next step that are getting 15, but they're also finding a way to. I mean, we've seen this with a lot of shooting guards and combo guards like Bradley Beal, who's even improved just like as a playmaker, Devin Booker, who's just improved frankly, as a playmaker. Like Chris Middleton is suddenly a really good playmaker. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago when the Bucks were winning the ring, Chris was doing a great job just facilitating. And so Julian Strother, when you are that much of a scoring threat, I think just the only point I'm making is I think there's a lot of growth in his game that can come from just facilitating the rock and making opportunities for others. And this is a incredible team to be able to do that. Like MPJ as a spot up shooter and Aaron Gordon, the strides that he's made from the on the arc and passing to the greatest offensive engine in the game right now, and Nikola and Murray's going to get a bucket too. So
Yeah.
that to me comes to mind, Julian Strother in that sense. You mentioning Christian Brown in me is super interesting just because you look at a guy. I mean, I don't know how many people expected him to be averaging 15 on 40% 3-point shooting in the way that he is at this stage of his career. And so that was an excellent draft selection by the Nuggets, and they've done a great job helping him grow as a talent. But he played 34 minutes a game, and so he's in that starting role. That's going to be locked up for him. And if it can get better for Christian Brown, even better for the Nuggets. But he's done remarkably so far. So just interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah. I would say they also had a draft pick last year, Darren Holmes, who hasn't played an NBA game. And I think fans are high on him, and I think they should be. He's also big.
Yeah.
He's coming off an injury, so we'll see how he deals with that. But the Nuggets have reason to like what they've seen from him. And I think the Nuggets, we're going to get a good look on how the Nuggets will be in this summer league, because the summer league is going to give a lot of guys who, for example, I imagine Julian Strother would play in the summer league. It's possible he doesn't, but I would imagine he does. It's going to give him that role of being, he's the guy, And I also remember that a couple years ago, I don't know how I remember this, but Hunter Tyson was first team all summer league. So, I mean, it's not like he's like this bum. I mean, he hasn't got his chance, but I think he's playing really timid. And when they're put in positions like the summer league where not a lot of eyes are on you, there's maybe, I don't know, 1,000 people in the gym. It's just you hooping against these top draft picks and guys that are really trying to find their way, two-way guys. It brings out something with these young guys that are, okay, these guys are my speed. I can take them. I can do what I want, and I don't have to worry about Jokic having to get his 20 shots up, Murray taking his 10 threes. It's just you and it's not even Adelman that's going to coach. I imagine it's going to be one of their assistants. So the younger guys usually know their assistants more than they actually know the head coaches. The assistants are going to focus on those young guys, developing them. They're going to focus on getting those guys in the right position so that Adelman can facilitate and do what he needs to do with the older guys in the players. So the summer league is going to help a lot, the Nuggets, and they might find a gem. You never know. So
I agree with that. I think we're going to be super interested to see what takes place there and what that product looks like and who's making strides, who's taking steps back, that type of stuff. I also just wanted to say, to anybody listening to this who's like, why are you guys talking about Hunter Tyson? Why are you guys talking about Julian Strother? Why are you guys talking about these guys? But really just, and we've honed this point home lately just between you and I, Chuck, where these championships and these playoff runs are no longer determined by Nikola Jokic and your Jamal Murray type of caliber player. For the Pacers and the Thunder, I mean, Shea was remarkable. Tyrese Halliburton, shot after shot after shot, right? But a big portion of the finals and the Pacers being as competitive as they were came down to people like Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell. And for the Thunder, Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, just like people, your 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th guy. You look at the Celtics, who have recently won and done it, extremely deep team. But you look at financially what they need to do because they have one of the most expensive core 5 or 6 cores that we had seen in the league. And the past week or so, we've seen that completely blown up. And so what it comes down to is your 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th guy what type of value are you getting from them? What type of contract are they on? What do their stats look like, and how expensive are they? Are you able to get significant production from your bench without going over or approaching this first or second apron? And so when we're talking about Julian Strawther, Hunter Tyson, this is what we mean. When you think about the Nuggets winning another championship, Nikola Jokic is going to be Nikola Jokic for another 6 or 7 years, and he's going to be remarkable. And I don't think anybody in the great state of Colorado doubts that. But the question is, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th guy in the rotation, who do we have? How much do they cost? What production are we getting?
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. I think anyone can agree with that, especially based off of this last year's outcome. This is a pretty good question. What's your the likely starting five? I think right now we don't have. I mean, you're going to get your staples in there. You're going to get Jamal Murray. You're going to get Nikola. You're going to get Christian Brown. I think Aaron Gordon obviously is, but that fifth spot, that MPJ spot, I think if MPJ continues to produce the way he did those last couple of months, I don't think he'd be okay with coming off the bench. I think Michael Porter's the type of guy who knows how good he can be and how good he once was, to the point where he would think he deserves to be in that starting five. But if the Nuggets can get away from him, then that starting five, that last spot would be open to anyone they can get from that. Maybe a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, maybe a lanky guy that they can find, maybe a Peyton Watson if he can really prove that he's smart enough and that he's not going to make dumb mistakes being in that starting five. So that last spot is gonna be huge, because in basketball, I mean, it's got to be five guys. In playing with Nikola Jokic, you can really put in there a lot of guys. There's the Nuggets aren't like a lot of other teams where they need like that five core guys to work so good together. Nikola Jokic works well with anybody and everybody who's ever touched a basketball in their life. So if you can implement a guy who knows how to play with somebody instead of playing like they're the lead guy, trust in Jokic, he's going to get you points, he's going to get you shots, so you don't have to worry about that. But you got to be unselfish, and you got to realize that Nikola Jokic is the best player on the basketball court, regardless of where you are, regardless of when it is. Whatever he wants to do, he's going to make the team better. So
yeah, you just absolutely have to defer to them. And I think that that's incredibly correct. I think of any player in the game right now, he elevates his teammates better than anybody. And I'm glad that you honed that point home. And any player who joins the starting lineup with him should recognize that as well.
Yeah.
Just connecting this to our first episode, like the point that we were really honing in is MPJ for $40 million isn't as good as finding 2 or 3 other guys for the same contract value, but just a little bit more deep of a basketball team. And so I agree with Chuck. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, what he's done for Minnesota the past 2 years, he's been remarkable. 3-and-D wing, incredible player, made great plays, big part of the wonderful success that they've been having in Minneapolis. So I would say you get a guy like Nickeil who makes what, 15, 20 a year, and then you get another bench guy. So that would be my preferred starting lineup. You have Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, insert your traded player there at the 3. I like Peyton Watson for sure. I completely agree with you. I think him and Julian Strawther need to have a better role. But if you could trade a guy who is more established in the league, has good starting experience, I think that elevates the franchise. And then you have
and the Nuggets got to trust. They got to trust themselves as well. I think they can't be timid. They can't be afraid. I mean, the Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray window. Would you say it's closing, or would you say it's pretty open? I mean, I don't think it's opening, but I definitely don't think it's closing, because they haven't shown any stoppage, but it's not super wide open for the next 5 years. I mean, they gotta capitalize.
They do have to capitalize, and you see it with these teams like the Celtics, where it's just the finances.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, as well.
You have no idea what's going to happen, and you get these players who sign expensive extensions, and it's just the way that it goes. Like we've just seen it time and time again. The teams and I will say this: we could one day have a broader discussion about whether this is actually good for the league or not, but Adam Silver, he got tired of watching Cavs Warriors, I guess, for 4 straight years, and said, we're going to create a financial system in the NBA that de-incentivizes dynasties and intentionally targets them and attempts to break them up at any point that we possibly can for the overall competitiveness of the league. My personal opinion, I think that is a really good thing. Just for the average fan, the fact that there's a chance to bounce back, the fact that these two conferences are now as competitive as they are, I think it's an incredible thing for the league. But I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, just thinking about how stacked the West is, think about how bummed and injured the East is. The West is only going to get better. So the Nuggets have to rise with those teams that are getting better. The Rockets are reloading. The Thunder obviously are making moves. They're signing back some of their big guys. Heck, the teams that are lower, the Spurs, who didn't even come close to making the playoffs, they're making moves as well. And the Nuggets are going to have to do that as well. I trust the Nuggets. I trust Adelman. I trust the front office. I mean, they have the pieces. They can do it again. Everybody respects the Nuggets in the league. I think they've gained all the other teams' respect. But just kind of putting a bow on this, I think it's important for the Nuggets to make moves and make moves now, so those guys can be acclimated to how they want to play, and we're going to be having a good eye on summer league. We're going to see how these young guys play and what type of and how the difference. I'm curious to see how these players play different in the summer league rather than the actual regular season. So, I mean, any last takeaways or anything you want to see from the Nuggets or what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the summer league presents a unique opportunity for a lot of people to embrace a role that looks a little bit different than what they would play like in the regular season. I think the Nuggets are as well positioned as any other team in the league to compete meaningfully for the next 5 years. And that's thanks to the fact that the greatest basketball player on planet Earth right now is wearing a Denver Nuggets jersey playing in Ball Arena, which is something to celebrate and be happy about. But like you said, I think that's a double-edged sword, and it comes with the responsibility of building the best possible team that we can around him. And I think that looks like if just this regular season, we're not very deep and none of the young guys find a way to step up like we're asking them to. I think we've really done a great job in this pod explaining how necessary that's going to be to the long-term success of the Nuggets. And if that doesn't take place, you're going to need to find ways to maybe flip Aaron Gordon for two really good players, or MPJ for two really good players, or Christian Brown for a good player, and maybe a first-round pick or two, because he is that good.
Yeah.
And extending this window and finding ways to – but I think of any team in the league, they're going to be exciting to watch. And like you said, this is a respected, great front office, and I think they're going to make great decisions, and we're going to see how things go. And I'm excited for the future of it, and it's very bright in Denver, and it's going to stay bright in Denver for the next 5 years or so, as long as Nikola's around. So
exactly, yeah. And I mean that'll do it for us. We appreciate your support. If you have any comments or anything you want to hear, we could dive deeper into some of the players. We're, like we said at the first show, we're basketball junkies. So any players that you think that might be a good fit, or any ideas that you guys have for trading some of the pieces away to get more pieces, or what you guys think about the Nuggets not having a draft pick, or hopes or weaknesses, just shoot them in the comments, or shoot us something on the direct messages, and we'll get back to you. But we appreciate the support. We kept it a little shorter. We wanted you guys to get a lot of information and have something to work off of. Looking forward to this summer league. So appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.